We welcome you to another live edition of The Sports Box, your go-to sports podcast featuring great content, conversation, and your occasional disagreement. Stick around to interact and ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Well, it's not quite Sunday morning, but it's Sunday afternoon. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Sports Box, Sunday pregame. Brian Attard and Drew Tremmel and Brant Meeks joining the show today. What's up, Brant?
What's up, guys? Long time. How's
it
going?
I'm getting all tingly now. I wasn't expecting this good. This is good stuff. Guys, today's the last football game of the year. Later tonight will be the last kickoff, the last halftime, the last ending of the 2023 NFL season. And one team will walk away the victor. The other one will be the ultimate loser. Because as we know, there are 32 teams, 31 losers, and just one winner. And we'll find that winner out tonight. Sunday pregame powered by the Sports Box Network. And I want to get started as we normally do in the playoffs. Why is the stream skipping? You should get better internet. Okay. First and foremost, we always eulogize. We always eulogize the losers from the week before. This is 2 weeks now. But I want to start with the Detroit Lions. Look, again, I just said that 31 teams lose, right? But I think it's hard to say that the Lions had a disappointing season given that they're the Lions and how far they got. Some people will point to Dan Campbell and say, hey, you should have done this, you should have done that. I'm a believer at the end of the day that he has to be true to himself and his DNA, and they got there being aggressive. So, I'm not going to sit here and bash the guy for the decisions made during the game, which possibly may have cost them that game. They were ahead for a while too. Future's bright. I'm a big tight end guy. I think Sam Laporta has been just a massive difference to that offense, more so than any of their wide receivers, frankly. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown maybe excluded, but where do you see the Lions kind of? How far ahead of them how far ahead are they of the Packers right now in that division? I guess because that's their primary competition at the moment.
It's hard to say because the Packers had a pretty decent, making it to the playoffs, winning their first game. I wouldn't say they're too far advanced at all because I think the Lions are solid. They've obviously got a good running game with the tandem they have in the backfield of Montgomery and Gibbs. Wide receivers, they've got it in Amon-Ra, Josh Reynolds, and they have some other guys sprinkling in. But I don't think they're too far advanced. But I think they're going to look back at the season and be like, what if? You're up 17 at halftime. You expect to win that game in the NFL, no matter who you're playing against. You've got to go out and just execute and do better. And unfortunately, they end up only scoring 7 points in the second half, and that's not going to ever, lift your team to a win.
I 1,000% disagree with you, Brian. If you are going to be a component of saying Brandon Staley is an idiot because of what the decisions that he was doing, then you need to be the same way with Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was an absolute idiot for what he was doing in that game. I understand that's his formula, but this is the playoffs, and you got to change. You got to adapt to a different scenario and a different game, a different culture. The postseason's a dog. We talked about it many times on this show and on Game Winning Drive. It's a different beast of nature. You have to get away from who you are and be logical in your thinking. I understand he went for it the first time, which I have no argument with. And obviously we would have a different discussion if Reynolds catches the ball because it was right in his hands. But the other two times was absolutely ridiculous. You could have easily tied the game up in that last attempt. Instead of going for fourth down, you could tie the game up, give your team some confidence heading into the next series against Broad Purdy in that offense, and we could be talking about something different. You didn't give your team a chance. To give your team a chance, to give your kicker a chance, people want to bring up the kicker. Oh, the kicker was this and this and that. I don't care. I don't give a shit, dude. You at least give him one of the three opportunities to kick the ball. So I'm not solely putting this on Dan Campbell, but he takes about 75% of the blame for that loss against the 49ers. And that's the reason why Detroit is home. And listening to Eminem over and over and over again instead of Eminem performing at the Super Bowl. America lost because now we got to deal with Taylor Swift these last 2 weeks. So, that's that with that. Packers, I agree with Brent. What a season they had for Jordan Love. I'm still against that pick 3 or 4 years ago when Aaron Rodgers was still on a roll and they drafted him. But it looks like that pick is going to turn out well, depending on what they do with his 5th-year option. But overall, there's still another team that I'm still scared of, and that's the Minnesota Vikings, if they get the pieces they need to get. But other than that, right now, I think it's Lions by a long shot, only because they retain both their coordinators, which is a huge win, in my opinion, in the offseason. It goes Chargers and it goes Lions. To be able to retain Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn is going to pay dividends for Dan Campbell and the franchise for next year.
Can we just talk about how much of a shyster Ben Johnson is, texting personnel of a certain up-and-coming team that he doesn't want their job mid-flight? That's a Josh McDaniels bad look right there, let me tell you.
Where do you place Jared Goff? Like, again, I have my own list of things, and that's fine. That's just me. But where do you, in the hierarchy of pro quarterbacks, like where do you place Goff? Can you win with Goff?
Yeah.
I'm putting Goff right in that 13 to 17, like good, can have moments of greatness quarterbacks. I think Kirk Cousins is one of them. Like, he's going to do things that you're like, wow, that was really good. And then other times it's like, that was expectedly bad. But Ben Johnson seems to be getting a lot out of him, but it's not like this is the first success he's had, right? Like, he went to the Super Bowl with Sean McVay. He was out a couple seasons later, but he's made it to the pinnacle of the NFL. He just didn't win
it. 10 to 15 for me. Just like Brand's 13 to 17. I'm pretty sure Brand wouldn't mind if you put him 10 to 15 or 11 to 15. Back-to-back years of top 10. I think top 10 stats for him. He's a peculiar one. He has a lot around him, so it's hard to evaluate because we've seen Jared Goff with the Rams after that Super Bowl year and how bad he was. But there was also a multitude of issues around him that wasn't working. I mean, Todd Gurley could barely bend his knee. So I mean, he's a hard case, but because of consistency back-to-back years, I mean he's on the outside probably or on the fringe of 10 for me. He might be better than Trevor Lawrence, but that's a whole different discussion for a different day.
Hey, don't talk bad about Brian's long-haired Casanova like that, okay?
Hey, listen, Trevor Lawrence's whole year has been with Urban Meyer fingering a chick in the freaking club. So I mean, it's that's why I think of Trevor Lawrence this year. What a wasted 2023 year.
It goes back to Ben Johnson has done a good job of maximizing his skill set. He doesn't make him do things that he can't do. He sets him up for success, and that's what good offensive-minded offensive coordinators do. They set your team up for success. And like I said, Goff doesn't. He throws the ball well. That's what he was known for coming out of Cal. He doesn't move overly well, but he can do it a little bit. No. But I mean, like I said, he's got the guy. Him and Amon-Ra have a connection that it is just special, and like it works. The trust is 100% there. I think you give Goff's not even 30 yet. I don't believe, right?
Yeah, but see. Look, everybody talks about the Gibbs pick, and we analyze that at length about why you don't take a running back that early in the draft. And honestly, I really, heart of hearts, I mean, it's nothing against Gibbs. I think Laporta was more of an impact on that offense because, again, you could have somebody else run the ball. Montgomery was also effective running the ball, right? Laporta was the huge difference, in my opinion, because I didn't like them getting rid of Hawkinson at all. Like, I just didn't really understand that because I think TJ is also a very good tight end.
To a rival.
There you go, right? But, again, I think that when we're talking about this team a year from now, no matter what they do next year, I think it's going to be less about Gibbs and more about what Laporta year 2, to me.
Yeah, the only thing that would make Gibbs more valuable is if you start throwing him in the slot a lot more and letting him, really maximize his skill set, similar to how Reggie Bush should have been utilized. Yes, he can run the ball to spell Montgomery, but using his speed and elusiveness in space.
Yeah, see, I disagree with you on the fact, Brian. I agree with the fact about Laporta. I think Laporta is going to be the face of the NFL for tight ends in a couple of years. But I think it's going to be more about Jameson Williams finally having his breakout year next year.
If he
stays away from the freaking gambling table and freaking focuses on football. I mean, he should be involved in this offense way more next year, and not a Josh Reynolds, and not a who else they have? Other cats they have a receiver I can't think about. It should be Jameson, St. Brown, Laporta, and then the two running backs. I mean, that offense with that offensive line, whoo boy, they're going to have.
They definitely need to bring. They definitely need to bring in another targeted wide receiver though, because outside of Amon Ra, like it really drops off.
They could be banking on Jameson Williams to take that step to be the number two.
But see, his hands are too inconsistent. His hands are inconsistent at best right now. Like he drops open balls. But yeah, no.
And their defense, yeah. On the other side, AFC Championship game losers, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I was on this show 2 weeks ago and I said there is little to no chance the NFL is not going to have Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl, and I was proven to be correct on that. However, I don't know what you do if you're the Ravens, right? Like this to me, like this was their year, right? Like everything fell into place for them. Lamar was better throwing the ball. Why they only ran the ball, I think the number was 8 times in the championship game, is a question they're going to have for a very long time. I don't know what you make of this team. I don't know that they're going to be this good relatively next year. So you're in a division where the Bengals should be better when you get Joe Burrow back. The Browns are going to be the Browns. The Steelers might be something, but you're going to get more resistance within your division next year. I mean, they paid the quarterback. He's their guy, whether you think he's their guy or not. We'll talk about awards in a little bit, but where do you see the Ravens now? I mean, do you think they blew their best shot? I guess is the big question here.
Best shot. Did they blew their best shot?
No. The answer is no.
Yeah, I think they did. Only because it's hard because I don't know what we're going to get out of Cincinnati next year. I don't know what the pieces are going to fall into. They have a huge question mark at receiver, at number 2 receiver, because T. Higgins is going to be more than likely. I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's 90% gone. So I mean, what are they going to do with that? They still have no tight end. They have no right side of the offensive line, and we don't know what's going on with Mixon. So it's a lot of what ifs with Cincinnati in that division. But there's something brewing down in LA. And I'm going to tell you right now.
My God.
I'm going to tell you right now, that force plus all of the AFC stack teams, AFC is loaded, dude. I mean, it's loaded. You can say what you want to say. It's still loaded. And we don't know what's coming back with Baltimore. We know that Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews is coming back. We don't know about Bateman. We don't know about OBJ. Even though those two weren't really that much of a force, we don't know what's going on with Baltimore. So it's a lot of, and then also the defense is losing 2 players. So I mean, it's a multitude of things that is the unknown. I think this was their best year because of so many injuries at the quarterback position that defense has shined when they didn't have to go against the regular quarterbacks that would be there for those teams. So, I mean, we can talk and talk and talk, but at the end of the day, they've only beat one team that they should have beaten, and that was the Houston Texans because of their youth and their inexperience. That's all you have to say for the 2023 Baltimore Ravens. They had the easiest road. We're talking about the Chiefs that had no offensive weapons besides a Travis Kelce that was, past his time, obviously not, and a Rashid Rice and Isaiah Pacheco. And it's just it's that Baltimore Ravens. It should have been a close game, but it should also have been dominant by the Baltimore Ravens offense, and it wasn't because of a horrible game plan and Lamar Jackson once again coming up short in the playoffs. Those things matter. So when you talk about those things, you're not going to have that road next year because you're going to have a tougher schedule, a tougher division, and you're going to have to go against tougher teams. So, yeah, this was their best shot, and I think they blew it.
Brant, tell us why we're wrong.
I don't think you're wrong, just because there's a lot of young talent that they still have on their roster. They got hit really hard with injuries to their their running backs. I think they lost like 3 of them this year. Mark Andrews was hurt for a significant amount of time. I think that they still manage to keep. I think they'll still manage to keep a lot of their core of their defense, which was their big strength. Like, their defense was solid this year. But I don't think that this is necessarily going to be the end for them. They still got Lamar, so anything can happen, despite certain people not liking Lamar Jackson. But I don't think I don't think this is the end for Baltimore. I think they'll still be like a top 5 team in the AFC next year and still make the playoffs and still have that run, because they're still going to have those core group of guys.
Alex Kroger, welcome to the show.
What's up, fellas? I was disappointed when I thought you guys went on at 10, and so then when I saw the post, I said, "Shit, let me get on there and talk some shit."
We're eulogizing the Ravens. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a tragedy, mainly because of the coaching, right? I know Lamar Jackson didn't have a good game. I think, unfortunately, sometimes he's a prisoner of the moment, right? Where their game plan was, we don't want you running a lot. We think we can beat them with the pass. They're susceptible to the pass according to whatever scouting video film they watched. It just looked like he was threatened, don't run the ball, right? He played completely out of character, which fits the narrative for a lot of people like Brian, who think that he's not a good quarterback. So I know you were happy with it, but
I mean, I may have won money on the game. Let's put that out there. But go ahead.
But I mean, I think a couple of us here won money on the game because I never been against Patrick Mahomes.
That's right.
It's sad to me because as a long-suffering Browns fan, I would die to have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, right? This guy's now a 2-time MVP. I understand his shortfalls in the postseason, and I'm not going to, like, sugarcoat it and be like, oh, it's not his fault. Like, it's a majority of his fault the way he plays. I'm not going to take that away from him. But he is trying to follow the game plan, and I think the game plan was effed up, right? Like, you don't win as many games as they did and be the best team all year long with a stout defense because you run the ball a majority of the time. You're the best rushing attack in the NFL. So why in the world would you get away from that in the biggest game of the year for you? It just didn't make sense. Like, for Gus Edwards and why am I blanking on his name now? They're 2 running backs that were playing in that game because Mitchell was hurt, right? Or
Justice Hill.
Yeah, Justice Hill. Why would they only have 6 rushes in the entire game, and you have 8 from Lamar? So 14 total rushes from a team that averaged like 31, I think it was, rushes for the year. Like, a
Flowers
game.
had 2.
Right, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
it just
you
doesn't
have
make sense.
under 20 rushes in a game when it was decided by 7 points. That's crazy to me. Like, it's not like you were trailing 34-7. You were trailing 17-10. Like, I think it was a terrible coaching job. I think Harbaugh should have been fired 2 years ago. That's an unpopular opinion, but I don't care. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's a good enough game manager as the head coach to win a Super Bowl again. I'm sorry. I just think that's the facts.
Also,
go ahead.
I also think that Lamar Lamar needs to change the narrative. Like now, this stigma is going to be on him, regardless of the offensive game plan or not. Because even if you're sitting back there and you're getting called passing calls, you're still in the pocket being hesitant. That's not from the coach.
Oh
That's from
yeah,
him.
no, patting the
So
ball.
and
No, I agree with you. I'm not
so
arguing that.
so and also just to throw that out there, we talked about this before. We can beat it till the horse is dead. But
I
I
said
mean,
again, Dave. Listen to what I say. Don't make comments unless you know what I said.
Second half of the Buffalo game against Kansas City, we all saw what happened to Josh Allen. They used that same strategy towards Lamar for 4 quarters.
Agreed.
It's stopping the running lanes, it's filling up the gaps, having a spy. And guess what? Kansas City Chiefs have a guy named Nick Bolton who's very underrated. A lot of people don't talk about. Can go sideline to sideline, make the right angles, make the right choices to follow Lamar wherever Lamar goes.
Oh, you mean
and
the
then,
guy
and then force
wanted
Lamar into a passer.
the guy wanted the Browns? Remember on the draft podcast
Yeah.
to take in the second round, and they didn't. And now this guy's an absolute stud.
Trust me,
Oh,
dude,
imagine
I
that. I don't
wanted
know
him over
nothing
Murray
about
Jr.
football though. A lot of people
You know,
talk a lot of shit, but
but Alex,
I don't miss too much.
Alex, to your point, I just
personal vendetta right now this morning.
I go back to this franchise quarterback argument, right? And I think we would agree that the Chiefs kind of wanted Lamar to beat him with his arm, right? Like I just don't think that you can be a franchise quarterback in the NFL when the defense actually tries to make you throw the ball.
I agree with what you're saying, but the problem is if you watch that film, there were multiple scenarios where Lamar could have got 20 to 30 yards down the field with running the ball, and he didn't. The problem for Lamar is mental, right? He has to get over the fact that we want to turn him into a passer. He can throw the ball. That's fine. He can make the throws. He can throw the deep ball. He can fit into windows, but not as consistent as some of these other guys. But guess what? He's the best fucking runner in the game. So if you're the best at something, do that. Be happy with it. Don't worry about what other people think. Win the way you win, which is
you already got paid. So just play the way you want to play.
Make passes when you absolutely have to. But when a running lane is open and you're the most athletic dude on that field, take those 10 to 15 to 20 yards every single time. Stop worrying about the public and national narrative of he's a running quarterback. Oh, well, if you win a Super Bowl, who gives a fuck if you're a running quarterback, right? If you're Super Bowl MVP, who cares what anybody thinks that you're a running quarterback? Win the way you can, which is his hugest advantage is he's better than anybody in the history of the game, in my opinion, at running the ball, right? I think he's better than Michael Vick, but he has to do it. He has to lean into it and not be concerned about what everybody else thinks. Be concerned with, at the end of the day, I just won a Super Bowl. Doesn't matter how I did it. I won it, right? Because the narrative changes if he wins, right? We go into the playoffs next year. Let's say they win the North again. Let's say they're the number 2 seed, so they have a home game. But let's say he throws for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe an interception here and there, but he rushes for 70 to 80 yards every game and has another rushing touchdown, and they win every game. Nobody's going to care that because he ran the ball so much, they won. All they're going to care about is they won, right? Like that's the
they don't ask how, they ask how many. Yeah, that's
right. Exactly. Like
before you came on, we all had opinions here. The question was, do you think that the Ravens blew their best shot?
Absolutely. This is the weakest you're going to see the Chiefs. This year was the weakest you are going to see the Chiefs. That defense was phenomenal, but that offense was, they only scored 17 points. And I get it. The Ravens made adjustments, very good adjustments at halftime.
Yeah,
they didn't score, right? But I also feel like if they had to absolutely score, they would have. So you had to put up points, right? Like this was the best shot the Ravens had. They had home field advantage. They only had to win 2 home games to get to the Super. Like that matters. They had to win this year, and they didn't. So next year, I don't like OBJ's not the answer. Sorry. I don't care, Baltimore fans. Get over it. Zay Flowers is a dog. You're going to hopefully keep Likely and Mark Andrews healthy next year. So you'll have Mark Andrews back for most of the year. Remember, he missed most of the year, and they still did what they did. But you got to find a true number 2, because I think Bateman's a 3. I don't think he's a 2. So you have to find a legit number 2 that's going to be a possession receiver, go across the middle. You might be able to do that with Likely and Andrews in combination, right? You might be able to do like a New England Aaron Hernandez Gronk, but they have to redesign their offense if they do that, right? So,
but the problem is that they benefited from a soft ass schedule this year and the multitude of injuries at quarterbacks.
Yeah, they're going to have a number 1 schedule next year, right? They're going to have a number 1 schedule.
Is going to be disgusting next year.
But with the talent, with the talent that they had this year, right? They could go 14-3, 13-4 next year. That defense is legit, right? Like, I thought they were the number 1 defense all year long. Now that I'm watching the playoffs, I think Kansas City was the number 1 defense all year long, and now we're seeing it, right? It's highlighted. They're playing fantastic opponents, and they're holding them to basically nothing, right? Which is insane, right? But at worst, they're the number 2, right? At worst, they're the number 2 defense in all of football. So that'll carry. Defense travels, right? You see it with Kansas City. They've been on the road, and nothing has changed, right? They're holding opponents to low points, and they're doing enough to win the game, right, on offense, right? But I can tell you right now, Kansas City will not be this weak offensively next year. So all the AFC should be like, damn, we effed up. We missed out on a year where they were weak. We could have won, right? So good luck. That's all I'm going to tell you, because if Patrick Mahomes wins today, he might get 2 or 3 more in the next 2 or 3 years. He might get the elusive 3-peat. If they win this year, which is the hardest year they're going to win, like, I don't think people understand. If they win this year with this offense, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback since Tom Brady. Like, there's no argument. You can't make any arguments to me.
You're catapulting him into your number 2.
Yeah, you can't make any viable arguments to me that I'm not witnessing the second best quarterback that I've seen in my lifetime. You can't.
I want to know Brant's answer to this. Where is Patrick going, Brant, in your top 5? I know your top 5. So where is he going? Is he going into your top 5 if he wins today?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much there. If he's not at number 4 or 5, like, he's in that cusp. But I try not to have too much recency bias, right? But I think it is harder to win now in the NFL just because I feel like there is better quarterbacks coming in now than like there have been the last few years, like having this influx of, Brock Purdy's coming in. So, I mean, yeah, I think right now he's probably like 5 or 6 for me. He could definitely move up with another one.
Okay. That's what I know.
We will get to this game. Obviously, a lot to talk about on this game. But again, we'll eulogize the Ravens there. I wasn't necessarily happy about it, but better quarterback won the game. 2 teams to talk about here for the Bears. Rumors are it would require a quote-unquote crazy, quote-unquote mammoth offer to get the Bears out of the number 1 pick. One of those teams that might want to get up there are Brandt's Washington Commanders.
I think that's
or the Patriots,
do it.
or a bunch of other teams, right? So here's the question. You're running the Bears. What do you do?
I call Washington. I said the pick's yours for the right number of picks, right? Give me 3 firsts, Terry McLaurin, and you got it. And I think that the Commanders need to make a splash. They're going to do it.
McLaurin is stupid.
It makes no sense.
When they can get Martin Harrison Jr.
They're going to do it.
No sense.
They're going to do it.
No,
they're going to do it.
Going from 2 to 1
would
not get you that much.
They're going to do it.
The most craziest thing about this rumor, Brian, that came out, I believe, was this morning, right? The most craziest thing about this is that the Chicago Bears are in a really peculiar spot because you have somebody in your helm right now that a lot of teams would want as their quarterback, including the guy below me. So Justin Fields, I think it's light years better than what obviously they have right now at Washington. And I think a lot of teams would love to have Fields. So it's you are really in a weird spot, but a good spot. It's a good thing to be in. Thank God for the Carolina Panthers that you're in this situation because you have to make Poles has to make a not only job-saving decision, but a career-saving decision for the organization to see where they're going to go because they have talent. That Montez Sweat trade worked. It worked out wonders. Now, what do you do? Does Fields? Do you go with Fields and have contract negotiations with them and say, bro, how much do you want to make? Because Daniel Jones is making $40 million. So I'm going to put you above the Daniel Jones bracket because he's ruined it for everybody now because he's making $40 million.
Yeah, he screwed up the quarterback market. Not these top tier quarterbacks.
So,
they didn't screw it up. This bottom tier quarterback.
Not to interrupt you, but what happens is that, look, the big guys get what they get paid, and the teams that have nobody that need an average guy end up overpaying the average guys, which then takes the top tier and raises them even higher. It's just like the domino effect of what that is, right?
So so long story short, dude, if I'm the Washington Commanders, I'm not trading three first round picks. That's absolutely idiotic.
Do it.
Because you're only moving up one spot. You still have your choice of Drake May. You still have your choice of Daniels. You still have your choice.
Don't shut your mouth. Why does everybody like Jaden Daniels? I do not understand.
You want Drake May?
Did you watch any LSU football this year?
The dude looks like he's running around like a bobblehead. His helmet is so big on that.
If I'm the Washington Commanders, Brian, I am trading back. Because there's a team behind me that can't make this decision. I can if I'm the Washington Commanders because I have a new ownership. I have a new head coach who's I think is a horrific hire, and I am going to do the best I can to get the most I can to fill the positions that I need because I'm in a division that has the Eagles and that has the Cowboys. Regardless of what we think about their quarterbacks, they're in the cusp of being a tier 2 quarterback with a good team. So if I need to go and fill out my out spots and I can wait and get a quarterback out of the back 10 or out of the 10, I'm trading back if I'm the Commanders. Now, if you believe in Daniels, if you believe in Drake May, go for it. I don't personally. I think they're late first round, second round quarterback. There's only one guy that I want. That's Caleb Williams. And if it takes me 3 first round picks to get him, I'm not doing it.
So what if it takes like 2 firsts, a second, and a player, not Terry McLaurin,
there
but
is no way.
Somebody else.
No way. There is zero chance Washington will trade a future first to move up one spot. There's just no way. That's the trade value is so off there. Like I could see adding in like 2 seconds, a second and a third, but there's no way
You're not moving to the number one spot. Hold on. You're not moving to the number one spot for what's supposedly a generational talent, the best prospects since Andrew Luck. I get tired of hearing this every year, right? But you're not moving into that spot and not paying through the nose. I'm sorry, you're not.
But you've also got to look at how far when you're looking at the Washington to the St. Louis for RG3, right? Like that trade, we were coming from early teens to 2. Yes, you're going to get 3 firsts.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you have to pay. You have to pay for the talent.
No, and with this, right? The Bears obviously don't want to have to pick anybody. That's why all this rumor is coming out. So if I'm Washington, I'm like, F you. I'm going to stand here and make you pick the guy that I know you don't want to pick because we all know they want to go Marvin Harrison Jr. If they had any interest in going Caleb Williams, they would have gotten rid of the GM and they would have gotten rid of the coach because you do not draft a rookie quarterback onto a team where the head coach is possibly going to be fired the next year.
There's a team behind you that can pay that and will do it. You don't think the New England Patriots want to make a splash after all this negativity they've gone through the last 3 years?
Because I think
Belichick's not there anymore.
If you look at everything, I don't know why. I don't know why Jaden Daniels is so hyped up. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I think he's way too small. But a lot of people have May and Daniels pretty much interchangeable. And if you believe the rumors, JJ McCarthy is going to make a bump up into the teens at some point in this draft. And so I think you have a lot of these guys that are seemingly interchangeable. Obviously, Drake May's got size over everyone else. Caleb Williams has more skill. But I don't think that the Bears are going to get that mammoth offer to get out of the number 1 pick. They obviously don't want to use it, so I'd make them.
So I really think that neither of these teams want the picks that they have in a very weird way. Like, I think that they don't want to make these decisions, right? So I think if I was perfectly fine. I said a couple of weeks ago, and I maintain this, that Washington has the best quarterback spot in the NFC East simply because they are not contractually locked into one of these guys, right? They can do whatever they want to. It's not a cap problem. It's not I got to pay Dak $50, $60 million. I'm locked into Jalen Hurts for 5 more years. It's none of that. It's freedom. They can do whatever they want to. I was on board with them taking May at 2 until Kingsbury got the job, right? Now that changes things. Like, I think that makes them want to go after a Caleb Williams, right? And I think if you're Chicago, like, I think you kind of don't want to have to be the one that makes the pick. I think, truth be told, they just want to cash out of this pick as much as possible and just go with Fields for 1 more year, right? Which it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they did that, because if you suck again, you're going to pick high again next year and you figure it out then, right? So, like, you start to build the core around him, whoever it's going to be, to see what you want, right? I do believe this. I don't know what it would cost. I would tell you this. It would not surprise me if there was a trade between 1 and 2. But here's the other thing I'm going to tell you, Brent. Again, I'm not saying you should go, like, pay a bunch of stuff either. Like, again, there's probably a value that makes sense. I think it's not so much the pick value anymore, because now you're talking players specifically of who you're going to take, right? If you go back to when Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf were drafted, right? Yeah, the value from 1 to 2 was the value like it is every other year. But the Colts got Peyton Manning and the Chargers got Ryan Leaf. And if the Chargers would have given up 5 first-round picks to move up to number 1, they still would have underpaid. So it depends on where you rate these guys, right? If you think Williams is the number 1, bar none, and then there's questions at 2, then you got to think about it, right? If you're telling me, again, I think May goes 2, right? I think I would take May at 2 if it were me. But if Chicago says, you know what, we'll trade down from 1 to 2, Washington gets Caleb Williams, and then they take Marvin Harrison at 2. Now it's not like you stepped away from Williams, as you weren't sold on the other guys. You wanted to build around Fields. You can sell that to a fan base. I don't think you can sell taking Harrison at 1, and I don't think the Bears want to take a quarterback. No. I really don't.
No, I agree with that statement.
So I think that you're going to see a little bit of, poker and chess and everything else. But I'm telling you right now, it would not surprise me at all if Washington picks first and they take Caleb Williams. I think that the way things have gone, it lends to that. David. Again, I'm not saying they're going to give up the entire farm, right? They're going to give up something. It might be next year's one.
So from what you've seen in Drake May tape, how much tape have you watched on Drake May?
I've watched highlights, which is what I watch of college football.
Okay, so this is the problem, right, with all these people that don't watch tape and don't understand college prospects, right? The difference between Caleb Williams and Drake May is light years. And when I say light years, I mean fucking Patrick Mahomes and Daniel Jones. That's how bad it is, okay? So you go ahead at your little shitty number 2 pick and stay there and not draft Caleb Williams and be stuck in purgatory for another 10 years. As a Browns fan, I understand that. And then you come on this show every time you come on and cry about the Commanders don't do shit and we suck. And it's going to be your fault because you got a franchise quarterback. You have the chance to take him or trade for a franchise quarterback.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, Alex?
Go ahead.
What tape and what study did you do when you made the observation that Joe Burrow was going to be a terrible quarterback?
The fact that he couldn't get off third string at Ohio State. That's what I based it on. I didn't need to base it on anything else. I didn't need to base it on anything else. How many Super Bowls has he won, bud?
I mean,
the guy's hurt every year. Exactly. We got another Tim Couch coming.
Super Bowl full? We got winning the Super Bowl.
We got another Tim Couch coming.
Like taking a shit. It's like, dude, it's not common.
That's literally the only thing you ever try and bring up. That's the only thing you could ever try and bring up, bud. It's hilarious.
It making no sense. Go to Brent.
Yeah, try and mute me again, clown. Hey, I know who it was. Listen, whenever he loses
I was trying to figure out what happened to mine.
Whenever he loses an argument because he's a fucking clown. Because he can't take it that he lost. You sound wrong.
Just because you sound wrong doesn't mean that you're right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're wrong, but it's cool, bud.
I'm right. I don't even have college, and I know I'm right.
We'll see what the Commanders choose to do, but they did make one choice. They hired Dan Quinn as head coach. Tell me, does that move the needle for you?
That's a great hire, probably.
Does that move the needle for you?
God, no. God, it's. Do I think it's a terrible hire? I do not.
Yes.
But I'm gonna pretend, right? I'm gonna pretend for a second that Adam Peters knows a lot more about the football than I do. I'm gonna pretend. I don't think he does, but I'm gonna pretend.
Well, that's not good for you either if he doesn't. But go ahead.
Bro, you got Dan Quinn and Cliff.
I built a great team on Dynasty. Okay, my fantasy football team is spectacular.
That's because we have idiots in our league. That's because we have idiots in our league. That's why.
But no, for me. I'm going to reserve judgment at this moment. I am not excited about it. I do not think it was an A+ hire. But when Adam Peters was talking, he talked about he wanted a leader of men, someone who come in and would get these guys to really get moving. And everyone loves Dan Quinn. Players, Micah Parsons was like, shoot, I'm going to follow him. These people love Dan Quinn. He is a leader of men. So I am hoping that he is going to pull from that Dan Campbell school, be able to come in and really be able to make things happen. But I'm not happy about it. It's not one that I woke up and was like, oh, yay, this is amazing. It was like, I'm going to wait and see and reserve judgment, but I am cautious at this moment.
Move on. I don't give a shit.
All right. We're gonna touch a little bit on
no, Alex, don't even waste our breath on it.
Good choice, Brant, because
I Cliff
agree.
Kingsbury was a better hire than Dan Quinn was.
I already said this on our podcast. I said Cliff Kingsbury is who they wanted as their head coach, but after his epic failure in Arizona, they couldn't hire him. So they hired Dan Quinn, and then they forced Cliff Kingsbury on him, because that's what's coming out of the camp, is that they forced Cliff Kingsbury. This is your offensive coordinator.
Because
I didn't hear that.
Dan Quinn didn't explode as a head coach either. The dude wasn't good in Atlanta at all whatsoever.
Oh no!
I mean,
I told you it's a bad hire. Remember, I said it's a terrible hire.
Ben Johnson should have been the new head coach for Washington Commanders.
Ben Johnson is the new Josh McDaniels, and no one is ever going to tell me otherwise.
That fool ain't filming practices. Get out of here, dude. What are you talking
about?
He's not
that was Eric Mangini, not
going around and forcing people to go to parties. Get out of here.
The MVP of the league this year was Lamar Jackson.
Yes, sir.
That's a great picture, by the way. That's a great picture.
You guys are
Sponsored by Invisalign. Go ahead. Was it the right call?
If you weren't going to give it to Christian McCaffrey, which this is prototypically a quarterback award in the last 15 years, whatever it is, right? Lamar Jackson's the best quarterback this year, in my opinion, right? I know there's lots of stuff out there, but the only person you could have really made an argument for would have been Josh Allen, but Josh Allen did what? He melted down. He cost his team more games than I felt like he was the reason that they won. I think Lamar Jackson was the MVP for this year. It was a down year for quarterbacks.
Why can't it be a running back? God, I hate this.
I didn't say it couldn't be. I just said it isn't.
No, it can't be. The NFL will not let the MVP be anything other than a quarterback.
I mean, they let it be Adrian Peterson, 7 years ago, 10 years
a lot
ago,
has happened
whatever
in
it goes.
7 years.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Drew, what's your question for me?
I just made a statement that you really want to start arguments this morning. This is probably the worst MVP award in a very long time. It's already evident. Me and Alex have had arguments on Tuesday night. He has his opinion, I have mine. I think if you're going to give Lamar Jackson, see, people want to go and say LeBron James can never win an MVP again because he has to outplay his prior MVP years. Okay, so then let's use that same knowledge with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson didn't come close to his MVP year in 2019. So if we're going to use that logic and use that IQ to go and base it off of your prior years of being an MVP, then what is the award about? Okay, so the award is about winning. Okay, so we're going to give him the award because he won the most games or he beat against the best teams. That's idiotic. I think that's completely idiotic. Now, you want to use the strategy of, if I take Lamar off the Baltimore Ravens, they wouldn't win games like they did. Okay, that's fine. I could go with that argument. The thing is here is that I can use that argument for other players, and I also can use that argument because what has Brian said the last 2 years that has somehow become relevant? Scheduling. Their scheduling wasn't that tough. They didn't have to go against top teams like they would in prior years. They didn't have to worry about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. They didn't have to worry about Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. They didn't have to worry about all these other teams that he had to play, and their defense was in the top 3 all year. So let's not just say this is all on Lamar. Lamar's numbers were down from a passing perspective. His rushing was dope. Don't get it wrong. 800 yards rushing is absolutely insane by a quarterback, but that's what he does. If you told me Brock Purdy had 800 yards rushing, that would have been like, oh, what? No. Lamar is supposed to do that. That's his bread and butter. The reward should have gone to Christian McCaffrey. The award should have probably gone to Dak Prescott. But we're not going to do that because Dak didn't win. So if Dak's not going to win, then who do we give it to? The award should have been split if you want to do that with Christian McCaffrey and Lamar Jackson. But Christian McCaffrey had a great year. He had a really great year. Was it magical? No, it wasn't LT status. But guess what? This whole season has been down from an offensive production because Justin Jefferson got hurt. Tyreek Hill was on his pace. If Tyreek Hill would have gone over 2,000, he would have been the MVP, but he got hurt. Tua didn't show up. Josh Allen had too many turnovers. No way you could give it to him. 40 and 20 is not going to happen. You can't give MVP to that. So and they weren't big time winners. So you have a lot of these issues they had this year. I think Lamar Jackson should have been MVP. It should have been CMC.
Lamar Jackson was tied for 11th in touchdowns passing, which is the quarterback's job, I might add. He was behind household names Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. You want to make – tell you what, if you were going to give the MVP award to somebody as far as their importance to their team, honestly, you know who it probably should have been? And it kills me to say this because he's not one of my guys. It's Jordan Love. Because that team was that dead.
No, because the first half of his year was trash.
What I'm saying is your importance to the team. Again, he was second in the league in touchdown passes, right? It depends how you want to look at it, right? When you look at the yards passing, Lamar Jackson had a handful of yards more than Geno Smith had in one more game.
Trust me, I went through all these numbers. I already know.
It's nothing you don't already know, right? So I don't think he should have won the MVP. It is what it is. Quarterback on the team with the most wins. If it was San Francisco, they probably would have given it to Purdy, as crazy as that sounds, but that's what they would have done. But not to say McCaffrey won nothing, because he did win Offensive Player of the Year. Did they get that right?
Of course.
Yeah. No argument there.
Yeah,
it's sad that the MVP has become the quarterback award, and
It is
the
a
offensive
quarterback
player
award.
of the year is the actual most valuable player
Who
offensively.
else would you give it to, Brant?
For the MVP?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have gone to CMC. I think he was the
Okay.
best player in the NFL offensively.
I understand your
I
logic,
agree.
but
I
if
agree.
we're all going to agree, which we always do, that the quarterback is the most important position on the football team,
1,000%.
then it should just be changed to the best quarterback award and not the MVP anymore, because that's why they do it. So you have to set records at your position to win it unless you're a quarterback. So like the outrage and the frustration should just be gone a long time ago, because we've seen this year after year after year after year. It doesn't
But
matter what you do unless you break records.
What other debate have we ever had for MVP in the past 5 years? There hasn't been a debate.
There's been quite
the only
a few.
one that I could think of, hold on, the only one that I could think of was COVID year, was Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. It was so close. But other than that, what other player has really outshined where you're like, damn, dude, he should have won MVP over a quarterback? Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I mean, I think
year?
Justin Jefferson year, I would have.
Who won it last year? Mahomes.
Yeah.
Mahomes won it last year.
Right. So, but that's why you didn't
Nobody
argue it.
offense.
But that's why you didn't argue it, because it was Mahomes. Had it been,
because he had no offensive
Yeah, I
weapons.
would probably say it's Mahomes every year until it's not. The last non-quarterback to win was AP in 2012.
And honestly, Mahomes would have won it
is,
this year if he didn't have a shitty year.
Well, yeah.
You're not going to convince me otherwise.
The thing is, Brian, they need to change Defensive Player of the Year to Defensive MVP. That's what they should do.
Because they'll never.
Because let me tell you, the defense, if there is a player this year, like for instance, Bland, if Bland wasn't getting burned so much, he could easily been a case for defensive MVP. So they have to fix things with these awards, which we're about to come up here very soon, because I got an issue with the Comeback Player of the Year award.
Oh, you're going to make an asinine argument, but go ahead.
I'm trying to find the last time a defensive player won the MVP award.
Oh, God.
It was Lawrence Taylor in 86. It was Lawrence Taylor in 86.
Yeah, I was going to say Lawrence Taylor is the last one.
I wonder how many sacks he had that year.
Which again goes back to my hire of Dan Quinn. It's an offensive league. Why are you hiring a defensive dude?
I agree.
Hold on. Now I got to find 1986 Lawrence Taylor stats. He was unanimous selection. Career high 20 and a half sacks, 105 tackles, 5 passes defended, and 2 forced fumbles.
So he's JJ Watt.
20 and a half sacks.
PJ Watt, my bad.
Back then.
Go next.
Next up, Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett from your Cleveland Browns. Alex, good call?
No, I'm going to shock you guys and say that I don't think it was a good call. I think TJ should have won it again this year. The fact that Myles had, I think he finished with 14 and a half or 15 and a half sacks, right? He had those sacks in week like 14 or 15. The last 3 weeks he disappeared. I love Myles Garrett. He's the best player on my team. I'm a diehard Browns fan, but I'm also a realist, right? There were 2 other guys on that list, and it's not just the sacks. It's the usage rate. It's the double team rate. It's everything that goes into it. Now, was Myles Garrett the most double teamed defensive end in the league? Absolutely this year. I think it was staggering, the difference. But what TJ Watt means to that defense for the Steelers is more important than what Myles Garrett does for us, right? And that's not to take anything away, but you can point out a bunch of different positions this year that played really well for our defense. I feel like he was a benefactor of our defense being improved, for him to have a good year, even though he was double teamed more than everybody. TJ Watt didn't even play the whole year, which I think is becoming a pretty common theme for him. But in that time that he played, I think he was more impactful. So I think TJ was robbed. But I'm happy for my first time ever defensive player of the year for a Browns player to win it. So
I mean, the numbers, I think it should have been TJ Watt. I mean, it just, but that team also, I mean, both teams didn't really do a whole hell of a lot either way, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I was not
I
a
agree with
fan.
Alex.
I was not a fan of that selection. Houston Texans were all over the Rookie of the Year award. The Offensive Rookie of the Year given to quarterback CJ Stroud. Look, there was some talk, could you give it to Puka Nacua? And again, Nacua at wide receiver broke every receiver record you could ask for. But again, do you err to the quarterback, right? Like, that's kind of where you go. And it's not a shot against Stroud, right? Another year of what Stroud just did, my Fab Five is going to extend because he has my criteria, right? So he had a great year, right? I think Nacua should have had a little bit more talk. That's all. I just feel like, again, I think if it was not the quarterback award type thing, like, I think that would have been a difference.
You can add even on to that, because Puka did that without Cooper Kupp for the first 4 or 5 weeks. So you can add on to that talk, and that
which made it easier for him to get those stats.
Well, not really, not typically.
It
really,
absolutely
because
did.
you double cover him. But I think a lot of it has to do with Brian, the narrative of CJ not being. Some people didn't have him as the top 5 quarterback coming out of college because of that stupid ass test that I complained about back in July. I said that test is idiotic, I go, he's the best quarterback in this 2023 draft class. He's light years better than Bryce Young. I said all of this, and you know what, man? I'm happy for him. I'm also happy for Alex, because Alex and I took a lot of hits on TikTok for saying that. So I mean, it's relevant. It helps his case. He won a playoff game. He played against the Baltimore Ravens without 2 receivers. I mean, virtually no offensive line on the right side, and he made it work. So give him credit where credit is due. He won a division title, I believe, right? He won a division title. He won a playoff game his rookie year. The sky's the limit for CJ. There's nowhere in this realm that Puka should have got it over him.
Yeah, the main reason is that the Texans were 3-14 or 3-13 the year before. Let me double check. 3-13, and they were a 10-win team this year. They won their division. Everybody thought they were going to be dog crap. Everybody picked Bryce Young as Rookie of the Year. He was the best quarterback in the draft. And then ignored all the measurables, all the signs, everything that told them that CJ Stroud was going to be that guy because he came from Ohio State, and we have a bad track record for quarterbacks in the NFL, which I challenge you to give me a team that has a multiple good record with quarterbacks. It's hard to get a life-changing quarterback, right? Like, it doesn't happen every day. So, but all the evidence was there that CJ Stroud was going to do this, and then he did it. Now, granted, they hit on some other guys. Don't get me wrong. They got the right coach, which was surprising because he's a defensive guy, right? But they did it. They did everything right. The cards aligned. You're not giving it to Puka Nacua because he's got Matt Stafford as his quarterback. He's on a better team. Before the year started, everybody thought, right? Everybody said Stafford's going to have a comeback year, right? Everybody believes in McVay. D'Amico was kind of an unknown. The guys they hit on the draft were unknowns, but they did it right, and he was the best rookie all year from start to finish.
You with us, or are you just watching TV?
Me?
I'm
Talking to Brand.
I don't think there's anything else really to add, though. I mean, CJ Stroud should have been it. He was just so dominant on the offensive side of the ball. Puka was great. I think he had a few too many games where he couldn't make 60 yards, but he had other games where he'd get 200. But when you're judging, offensive rookie of the year, like CJ Stroud had better numbers than the MVP did. So how do you How do you not give it to him?
It's quarterback, right? I mean, that's the thing.
I knew it was
True.
coming.
True.
It's quarterback. However, look, look. To be fair, right? Houston earned the 2 pick last year in the draft, right? So like, that's a big change. It wasn't like they just traded up. That's a big move year to year, right? It doesn't really happen that much in the NFL. What I will say is he was in a much better position than Bryce Young was. I'm not going to throw the towel on Bryce Young. I'm just not. Like, I think the talent's still there.
That team has no talent.
Brian,
he is on an island.
Brian, Lovie Smith did a favor for Houston by winning that last game.
Maybe. They
could have picked Bryce Young.
Logic, but
Houston could have picked Bryce Young.
Will Anderson was the second pick in the top 3 that the Texans had because they traded up. And the funny part about this is, like Alex said, we thought Houston was going to be asked this year, right? We sat at that draft saying, oh my God, Arizona's going to pick 1 and 2 next year, right? And it didn't happen. So again, full credit there. But I think the shock value here was, oh my God, Jalen Carter's so good. He's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then it didn't happen because the Eagles crashed and burned.
Voting, though.
Sure he was. I have no doubt it. But at one point, he was minus.
Jalen Carter had a good year, Brian. I like Jalen Carter didn't have a good year. He had a good year. He did.
Not good enough, my friend. Not good enough.
But I'm pretty sure it solidified themselves picking him at 10. It's a great pick for them. A good future pick for years to come. So I mean, Will Anderson just had a great year. And it benefited him being underneath D'Amico Ryans, defensive-minded coach. I mean, all the stars aligned for Houston Texans. The biggest winner out of all these last 2 awards is Cesario, the GM for the Houston Texans. The balls that he had to trade up, to trade future for Will Anderson, to go with C.J. Stroud and stick to his guns when a lot of people pegged the Houston Texans to pick somebody else. It was Bryce Young or nothing. He said, no, F you. I'm taking C.J. Stroud. And I'm trading up to get Will Anderson, and people clowned him, and look what happened.
First person.
Don't clown him anymore.
First person.
That's why I respect executives who go and make those decisions, like the Colts did when they traded to get Andrew Luck. It took 3 first-round picks, and people clowned them, but at the end, it worked out.
You listening to this, Brant? You listening?
So it's doing your homework, doing your research. Trusting in the things you need to trust in. Don't look at every stupid ass test, because all those stupid ass tests do is deteriorate a player. That's all it does. There's only a few tests that matter. Stop over testing these players, because you over test these players, you're not going to win. These quarterbacks should have known. I mean, these teams should have known about the DeMarcus Russells, the Sam Bradfords. The Baker Mayfields, if you want to throw Baker Mayfield out there, they should already know the intangibles, the character, and all that stuff without drafting them number 1 overall. This has nothing to do about advanced testing or Wonderlic test or all that crap. All right, give me a player that knows how to ball, that knows how to practice, and knows how to be a leader at the most important position in all across team sports. That's all that should matter. And this guy, Nick Cesario, deserves credit where credit is due, because he had the balls and the audacity to move up and make those moves. That's what executives should do in today's game. Not wait around and play patty cake.
But I think what happens is, like, these prospects, like, you stare at them for so long. You ever notice, like, when you look at a word and you stare at it and all of a sudden, like, it looks weird to you? Like, is this really spelled that way? Like, is that how you any word, right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, people will just tear down prospects, or they'll find the needle in the haystack that confirms their, predisposition about what the way they want it to go, right? Like, they'll find the hair 100%. That supports what they thought coming in, type thing.
Yeah,
like you go back
for 11 years.
It was even in the draft where it was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson, everybody else. Like, it was always Trevor or Fields, and all of a sudden Zach Wilson went up, right? Because again, like, people just stared at Fields long enough that it dropped him down the list. Not that Fields has necessarily panned out to be this great quarterback. Well, he's better than Zach Wilson has been, right? So
light years better than Zach Wilson.
So like, I think that's kind of where that comes from. But listen, the compass is pointed due north for the Houston Texans, and again, If you thought Jacksonville was going to run away with that division for a while, that equation has absolutely changed. We're going over 7 awards today. 3 of them were won by Browns. Kevin Stefanski wins Coach of the Year. Alex, he deserved it.
Fucking terrible.
No, absolutely not. Like, I don't. D'Amico Ryans deserve this award.
Dan Campbell
through and through. Dan Campbell would have been my second choice. It's hard to win in the NFL. To go from 3-13 to division winner, 10+ wins is ridiculous, right? Stefanski should have been the third choice for this, right? Now, don't get me wrong. He adapted. He overcame losing Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson and the backup to Deshaun Watson and the backup to Deshaun Watson and having the Stones to bring Joe Flacco in when everybody thought his tank was empty. I get all that. I give him credit for all that, right? But look how bad you got embarrassed by the guy who should have won Coach of the Year in the playoff game. That freaking playoff loss, I won't forget probably the rest of my life. That was embarrassing, dude. Like, even though we had absolutely, that was a beatdown.
You guys are 31st in scoring in defense on the way.
That was a master class, and you are not as good as your record.
We had said for weeks that the Browns' defense was different away from home.
Absolutely,
and
I was the first one to say that. I get it.
He had a 39-year-old quarterback, dude. You know his magic was going to end soon.
Didn't think it end that quickly.
Not like
badly.
that. Not two pick sixes.
You had no tackles. You had a 39-year-old quarterback.
Not two pick sixes. No, dude, that was embarrassing.
But pick sixes are back-to-back passes, right? Like,
yeah,
it was an implosion.
Fucking Joe Flacco. He gets back.
No,
it's terrible, Brian. Long story short, it's terrible. We don't need to dive into this. It's disgusting. Houston Texans should have won 3 of these awards. I don't know who won Executive of the Year, but if Nick Cesaro didn't win Executive of the Year, it's another bad choice. The Houston Texans should have easily swept these 4 awards, and the NFL, the NFL, they like to shove it out and hand it out to everybody. It's a participation trophy, is what Kevin Stefanski won.
Yeah, it should have been D'Amico Ryan, should have been Dan Campbell. One of those two I'd have been fine with. Stefanski, I mean, what he did was bringing in Flacco and winning was cool, but again, it's not how bad Houston was, how bad Detroit has been, and to get as far as they both did, that both should have been above Stefanski in the voting.
I agree.
I mean, again, like it's Look, we talk about how important a quarterback position is, right? We just spent an hour talking about it or whatever. This guy made the playoffs, like Alex said, with a guy off the street. Like literally, like you have to account for that. Like it's a hard league to win in, and they were able to do this.
I don't, because context matters, and what was around them was in-depth quarterback play all around the AFC. So a lot of guys were hurt. So I'm not going to give them that credit.
What those other teams, though, that had hurt quarterbacks didn't make the playoffs, is my point.
What?
No, what I mean is like other teams had similar adversity.
Browns had a good defense at home. They were number 1.
Talk to the Niners a year ago in a title game about not having a quarterback in a big game. This Super Bowl should have been last year.
Those are, but that was a rarity. That's an eclipse to have all 3 quarterbacks or 2 quarterbacks completely jacked up. I mean,
led to a rule change.
It did lead to a rule change.
What do we think? So, I think everybody and their mother thought this was going to be DeMar Hamlin, and it wasn't. Did they make the right call?
No.
Should have been Baker Mayfield.
Should have been Baker Mayfield.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, not only did he lead them to the playoffs, but he also knocked out the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else. I know the Browns fan probably disagrees, but no.
I watched that game in Walt Disney World, and to celebrate, I went to Walt Disney World the next day.
Guy's a bum.
Wait, Flacco's a bum now?
No, Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
No, but for me, it should have been Mayfield. Honestly, when they picked up Mayfield, they didn't think that they were going to win any games.
The only
They were gonna
award that
come
guy
in-
should win is go sit on the couch award. No.
But he should have been. But I don't think it should have been DeMar Hamlin. Yeah, great story. Yes, he only played in 5 games. It's not like he played a whole lot of snaps in those 5
The guy
games.
died. Nah,
Almost.
I listened. Hamlin shouldn't have been it. Baker Mayfield shouldn't have been it. I don't care about this award, honestly. Who cares?
You only say that because Baker won. Shut your mouth. Yeah, that's the only reason why you're saying that.
Baker didn't win,
Baker
though.
Mayfield,
Flacco won it.
Baker Mayfield had the greatest story, had the greatest
How?
comeback.
How? Joe Flacco was sitting on the
Won
couch.
the division. Won the division with that Tom Brady leaving.
Nope.
Played better than Tom Brady played this last year. And won a playoff game.
Joe Flacco.
And was a drive away from tying the Detroit Lions. I ain't trying to hear that BS.
Hey, Brian, who won
Say
the
it right
award
now,
again?
dude.
Can you show
You're
me that
such
picture
a
again?
But this award,
Brian,
such
can you
a
show me
joke.
that picture again real quick?
This
Flacco?
award is such a joke. The top 2 guys
Oh,
who got the most
that ain't
votes,
Baker Mayfield. That's Joe Flacco. Yeah, woo!
2
Fuck
guys
you.
who got finished 1 and 2 played a combined total of 10 games. This is absolute joke. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Joe Flacco.
All right. Well,
Baker.
main event, Super Bowl 58. The NFC champions, the San Francisco 49ers, at the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. This game, the Niners are -2. The over-under, 47.5. A rematch of Super Bowl 44. KC won that game 31-20. The Niners have a star-studded roster. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, your offensive player of the year. George Kittle, just criminally underrated still as a tight end. Just a great weapon. On the outside, you have Deebo Samuel, just can do anything for you. Brandon Ayuk has really come into his own this year if he hadn't before. It is a team coached by Kyle Shanahan who's had some rough times in Super Bowls, going up against possibly the greatest quarterback who ever lived by the time we're done in Patrick Mahomes and Mr. Swift himself, Travis Kelce, his number 1 target. Pacheco, late round running back. You love those, so you don't pay him that much. Rashee Rice, I think, has become their number 1 target on the outside. Frank Clark has been the leader of their defense. Things you can't, the number 1 defense in the league.
No. Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. I think I'm turning 40 next month, and I had a 5-letter first name and a 5-letter last name, so I got it wrong. It's okay. Chris Jones. My apologies. Andy Reid, the head coach. Frank Clark was on that team.
He was.
So if Mahomes wins this game, Mahomes becomes only the 3rd quarterback ever with 15 playoff wins, behind Tom Brady with 35 and Joe Montana with 16. So when you start putting him and this run that they've been on in historical context, like it's really nuts. It is, right? Because if Brady's the anomaly, he's I mean, like, he could catch him. He really could. Look, this was supposed to be the year the Chiefs fell apart. They had to go on the road in the playoffs. Offense stinks. Nobody's catching footballs. They lost games because guys couldn't catch footballs. Like, oh, they need a receiver. They need this, they need that. They're back in a Super Bowl. For all the people that want to tell me how important wide receivers are, they traded Tyreek Hill and went to back-to-back Super Bowls after that. The quarterback matters. The protection matters. This is why they're there.
Yeah.
And for San Francisco, again, in my opinion, these are the 2 best teams in the NFL, right? But when you look at it from the standpoint of San Francisco should have been in this game last year. If Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, I really don't think the Eagles win that game. I really, really don't.
Ooh.
Am I a hater? Yes. Is it still my opinion? Yes. That if they had average, if they had a live arm at quarterback, remember McCaffrey threw a pass in that game, but they had no shot because the quarterback got hurt. It led to a rule change. This is going to be a very, very, very good game. But here's where I think the difference is, and you'll argue with me about it, and that's wonderful. It's what we do. Do you remember when there was a Super Bowl between Peyton Manning and Rex Grossman?
Yes.
Okay. That was a quarterback mismatch of epic proportions. And with all due respect to Brock Purdy, who's doing what he's doing on that roster and that team, it's not that dissimilar, okay? Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Purdy's never going to be. Purdy's never going to be talked about. Purdy is on the best top to bottom roster in the NFL, and he does exactly what is asked of him, nothing less, nothing more. And that's why they're here, right? Again, Kansas City is going to make Purdy throw the ball. They will contain McCaffrey. Beat us with your arm, kid. Try to beat us deep. You won't be able to. And I think that ends up being the difference in the game. The fact that Kelsey was so productive against the Ravens secondary with Kyle Hamilton coming in and trying to, that's going to be a problem for them in San Francisco. I look at this game. I think the better quarterback finds a way to win. I see a 27-20 Chiefs win. I think Kelsey gets in the end zone. I think Pacheco gets in the end zone. I think McCaffrey gets in the end zone. That's fine. I think if you're San Francisco, if you win the toss, you want the ball because you're not going to come from behind against this team. They're not the Lions, they're not the Packers. They're not going to let you back in if you don't. You need to be pedal to the metal the whole game. I guess what Baltimore tried to do, where they tried to outscore the Chiefs because I thought it was going to be a shootout. The Niners actually have to do that because they're not going to be able to come from behind. And reverse this to their last time these two teams played 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. The end of that game, Chiefs were up. And Shanahan had no interest in having Jimmy G throw the football. None at all. They were doing everything other than trying to have Jimmy G throw the ball. It is a scheme, and Shanahan's unbelievable at it. I think the Chiefs walk away with their back-to-back championship. Did
you compare Rex Grossman to Brock Purdy?
I compared the elite quarterback.
That's what I got from that.
I compared there being an all-time elite quarterback to there being one that's not that good.
Well, the guy below you is going to tell you that that person is not an all-time great quarterback. So that you're going to have an argument there. So I'm going to give you a heads up to let you know right now. So that's one. Two, Brian, Brock Purdy has been throwing the ball deep. He's one of the best deep passers this year. So I don't know where you get your stats at on that one. Sorry, I got to be Tony Quigley, but I'll be Tony Quigley for a little bit today. He can throw the deep ball. He has, and
they're going to challenge him to do it.
One of the greatest to ever play left tackle. He will have time to throw the ball. He will have time to throw the ball today. That offensive line for San Francisco is not some bums. That line is good. You're acting like the defensive line for Kansas City is going to have days. It's not going to have days with them.
The Niners are a huge yards after the catch team.
Sure.
Best in football. There's a reason for it.
That's the offense. That was the offense with Jimmy G. That would be the offense with Tom Brady.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. It is the offense. It's not Purdy. Purdy's just a warm body.
That's the system that they're going to put in.
Yeah.
They are going to run motions and zips. That's what Shanahan does. He did it with Matt Ryan. He does that. That's his offense.
It is.
It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. That's what I'm telling you.
I think
Christian McCaffrey. You don't think Tom Brady's going to hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey more than 20 times a game?
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Do you think if Josh Allen was their quarterback, they'd have a lot yak? Or would they air it out?
Yes, they would. Yeah, but they'll have more. They would have more quarterback run designs because that's what Josh Allen does. I can make the argument that Brock Purdy's more accurate than Josh Allen.
Brock Purdy takes less chances than Josh Allen. Brock Purdy.
That's what the offensive game plan will be.
It is. No, I'm not disputing that. It is Shanahan's offense, and it is the scheme. The scheme is more important than the guy throwing the ball. They just need a guy to be able to throw the ball and hand it off. Purdy's not the reason they're there.
But he is a reason they're there.
He's not the.
Let's not say he's not a reason. He is the reason they're there. The guy threw for over 4,000 yards. He threw more than Lamar Jackson did.
That's not a high bar.
Yeah, it is a high bar because he just won MVP.
That doesn't make it a high bar. Derek Carr also did.
You're the only person who doesn't care about MVP.
I don't care about MVP.
So I love you to death, but you're also the guy that wears a hockey hat.
I am.
So these things matter because I know
and the hoodie.
These things matter. These things matter about a quarterback. Brian, you think Jimmy G is better than Brock Purdy?
No.
Okay, so they already have a better quarterback in the Super Bowl already. So I'm just saying, your words like undercutting Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's, he's very talented for what he's doing at a quarterback position.
Where
he
would
can
you
move? He can extend the play. He has a good arm. He can throw the intermediate to deep passes in an accuracy form. The problem is that when all cards are on him, we don't know what kind of quarterback he is, and we're going to find out today what kind of quarterback he is. But if he performs, Brian, and that defense does it, then we need to talk about that defense more than Brock Purdy. Because if Brock Purdy has a decent game in a Super Bowl against the number 2 defense in the NFL, then we need to have a conversation for a different day. But I think you're undercutting Brock Purdy as a player and as a quarterback.
See, I don't know if Brock Purdy had a lot of pressure on him 2 weeks ago when they were down 24-7 at halftime to the Lions. The dude came out and he played great the second half.
The second half of football.
Yeah. But see, they're not be able to do that today. There's no way. If Kansas City gets up 24-7,
he played great. He played great when a coach should have kicked 2 field goals to win the game instead of bud. Like the Lions lost that game.
That's not on him.
The Lions lost that game more than the 49ers won it, and Brock Purdy
I agree with you, but
same with Green Bay.
But Alex, hold on. But Alex, they wouldn't be in that position if he didn't play good. There's always 2 sides of a coin.
They wouldn't have been down by 17. They wouldn't have been down by 17 if he didn't play like dog shit in the first half. So let's go there.
They would have been down 20 if he kept on playing like shit, but he didn't. There's 2 sides. There's 2 halves of a football, dude. It's a full book.
If the
Niners, one half of a book.
You
read Harry Potter, read just one half. You read the whole goddamn thing, dude.
Hold on.
Stop.
I gotta look up this number real quick.
No, I agree with you, Brian, on the fact that they need to take the ball first and shove it down their throat. I agree with you on that. That's 1,000%. The 49ers should elect to receive the ball in the first half. But everything else, I'm going to go through the game real quick and then I'm done. I'm going to go through the game. Right now, I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with you, Brian, on everything you said about the Kansas City Chiefs. Chris Jones is my X factor for today. He needs to be a force. This might be his last game in Kansas City because that dude is about to get paid big bucks in the offseason. There's also a rumor coming out about Patrick Mahomes restructuring his contract, his cap, to make sure the Kansas City have enough for Mike Evans in the offseason or T. Higgins. Those are 2 names to look out for Kansas City to go get a receiver because Alex just alluded to it. Kansas City Chiefs are going to be 20 times better next year than they were this year. That's a goddamn fact. Now, let's talk about the game. We're going to talk about the game from this fact. It all boils down to this. I think these 2 teams are similar in every facet of the game. One has an advantage of the other has advantage on the other. The deciding factor for me is who's calling plays and who has experience and who's the winner. That's Andy Reid. Andy Reid, I trust more than Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to overthink his decisions once again. They might be in the lead heading into the 4th, and he's going to make stupid-ass play calls that's going to ruin it for him and ruin it for San Francisco. And all that travesty is going to fall down on him. I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game 28. I think you said 28-24, Brian.
I said 27.
I got them winning. All right, I'll go 28-24, Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes will win his MVP. Travis Kelce, I'm with Alex on this. I think Travis Kelce is going to have a big game. 2 touchdowns for him. And this is going to cement Patrick Mahomes into my personal top 3 of all time. Now, I want to make one statement before these 2 guys go. I love you guys. I want to make one more statement, and then I'm in with this. I'm pretty sure we're going to debate later. No matter what Patrick Mahomes does in the future of his career, if he wins 5, if he wins 6, if he wins 7, he will never pass up Tom Brady, in my opinion. And the only reason why I bring that up is because Tom Brady will always be the thorn to Patrick Mahomes' ass because he is the reason why Patrick Mahomes doesn't have 5 as we stand here today. He is the only quarterback to beat him in a Super Bowl. He is the only quarterback to beat him he's the first quarterback to stop him in a conference championship game. But he's been the mainstay, and he has been the kryptonite for Patrick Mahomes in the postseason and in the Super Bowl. So you can't if you don't outplay him in those 2 games, you don't deserve to pass up the GOAT. He ain't passing up the GOAT. Tom Brady will forever be the GOAT.
Real quick. There have been 34 men to win the Super Bowl at quarterback. If the Niners win tonight, Brock Purdy will be number 35. Is it safe to say that Brock Purdy would be in the bottom 20% of quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl if he won the Super Bowl tonight?
No.
Bottom 20%.
No. I got to look at all the performances of those quarterbacks.
No. I'm just saying, like, just the guy, right?
Yeah,
if I start throwing out names at you, is what I mean. Like Steve Young, Russell Wilson, Doug Williams, Kurt Warner, Johnny Unitas, Joe Theismann, Roger Staubach, Bart Starr, Matt Stafford, Ken Stabler, Phil Simms, Mark Rippon, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Jim Plunkett, Joe Namath, Joe Montana, Jim McMahon, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Pat Mahomes, Brad Johnson, Jeff Hostetler, Bob Greasy, Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, Brett Favre, John Elway, Trent Dilfer, Len Dawson, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Terry Bradshaw, Troy Aikman. There have been 34 guys to win the Super Bowl. 35 would mean bottom 20% would be bottom 7. So can you give me 7 guys worse than Brock Purdy from the list I just gave you?
I mean,
there's a couple. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely.
I can give you 4 on the top of my head right now.
I probably can do the same, but then you start to struggle.
No, Trent Dilfer, Nick Foles. Who's the other guy?
Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson. I gotta go through the names again. Alex, you got anything?
I mean, me personally, I don't think Brian Greasy was that great. People argue.
Yeah, Brian Greasy.
People argue against it, but I don't think Bob Greasy, was that great. So
they won back-to-back Super Bowls.
Jim Plunkett.
I can't hear you.
Kenny Stabler.
Can't hear you, Brant.
There's 5'6". Brant, we can't hear you.
You were just really low. You're really low.
Not
low,
that great.
Low as hell.
That's what happens. You're sitting on the couch like Jabba the Hutt and not saying anything.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just talking too. It's terrible.
There we go. That woke him up. Okay.
I've been talking the whole time. I was screaming Doug Williams. Doug Williams wasn't great. I mean,
Doug Williams.
Doug Williams. There's 7 right there.
No, that was only 5.
No, I said 2 other names.
What were the other 2?
Stabler and Plunkett.
Okay.
I think he's better than both those guys.
I think we're also too early on. I mean, this guy's only played 2 full seasons. We're too early on in his career to know what he's going to be. Like, what if we're sitting here 4 years from now and Purdy's got 3 Super Bowls? Are you going to sit here and still make these same arguments? Like, we don't know enough about the guy. In 2 full seasons, he should have led his team to the Super Bowl twice. He got hurt in one of the games, and probably you get what I'm saying. Like, I
agree, but again, I think it's the system. I really, really do. It's not a shot at him. It's the last pick in a draft, right? Like, it's not this. You didn't expect anything out of this guy. Not like this. Is he playing? Look, was it a great pick? Absolutely, it was. But
hey, it's better than Trey Lance was, and Trey Lance cost them a whole lot more than he did.
Yeah, you can't dispute that. Anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but Brent, go ahead.
No, so I'm looking at this game. What I'm looking at is offense versus defense. I think skill position wise, San Francisco is better than Kansas City skill position wise. Defense, I think the Chiefs are better. The San Francisco defense should be a lot better for the names and the talent that they have. Chase Young is an absolute black hole of likability at this current moment from everybody. There's rumors that he's been benched last week. Good chance he's benched again this week. Dude sucks. He's a fucking bum. I think we all agree.
There's no hate there, no hidden agenda at all for him to say Chase Young sucks. But
no, Chase Young, when he was with Washington this year, was great at getting. He got pressures on like 80% of his pass rushes, and that hasn't translated over since being on the opposite side of Nick Bosa, which makes absolutely no sense. He should be playing better. His effort's lacking though, so he needs to get better with that.
He's lazy.
Anyway, I'm hoping. I personally, if I'm going, what I think will happen versus what I want to happen. I worry about the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. I want the Niners to win. I'm going to go Niners 31-20. I think Brock Purdy is going to hold his own, but I think the X factor is Christian McCaffrey. If they can get him going and establish him in both the run and the pass game, I think they'll have an easier time opening up that defense. If they can't and Chris Jones is able to lock him down, I think it's over. The offense runs through Christian McCaffrey, though.
Can we block Blair Kelly?
No, can't block Blair.
Okay, I just want to throw it out there. That's all.
I don't. What's that got to do with anything?
Fun fact: me and Blair Kelly live like
Mike
10
Gillette is
minutes
starting
from
his
each
show
other.
in 2 weeks, supposedly.
We were gonna have a golf show. I don't know if we're actually gonna do that or not. But anyway.
Listen, if you and Blair Kelly live 10 minutes away from each other, you should shit in a bag, put it on the doorstep, and light it on fire. All right, just do that.
Billy Madison.
Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, see what y'all come down to Wilmington one weekend. You can stay at my house, and then we will find out. I will let you. We will figure out where Blair Kelly lives.
TP the shit out of his
We
house.
will go grab a drink together, and then we'll just go from there.
Bury the hatchet.
Okay. Let's go.
All right. I'm going with Kansas City. I've been on Kansas City the whole time. I'll never bet against Patrick Mahomes, especially not in the playoffs. There's a very short list of people that beat him, right? I think it's 2 people, right? Tom Brady and Joe Burrow, right? I think that's pretty much who's beat him. I think it's going to be a closer game. I don't think it's going to get to – I don't think we're going to get into the 30s in the score here. I think it's going to be like a 24-17, 24-14, somewhere 24-21 range. I don't think we're going to get that many points out of this.
Live shot of Blair's house.
Oh
man, I love
yeah,
it.
no,
He yells at his wife.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as people think. I think it's going to have a very similar feel to the Ravens game, where they kind of jump out to a lead in the first half, and they kind of just hold on at the end, doing just enough to win the game. Patrick Mahomes wins MVP again, and this cements his legacy and jumps him to number 2 on my list, which is hard for me to fathom because I'm a big Joe Montana, Steve Young guy, and so to move them down on my list is crazy to me. But I mean, the guy's been in the league 6 years. This is his 4th Super Bowl in 6 years. And if it wasn't for Tom, he would have, like Drew said, he probably would have 5 rings, right?
Oh,
that's crazy to think about, right? I just think it's I'm not a Chiefs fan. And then honestly, in the beginning, I wasn't a Patrick Mahomes fan. I was just, I don't know what it was but I'm a huge Patty Mahomes fan now.
Patrick Mahomes was a system quarterback his first 3 years.
Yeah. I think you just have to sit back and enjoy the time that we're living in to watch. We went from Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes. I challenge you to find a time in football history where you've gone from 2 guys that dominant at the position back to back to pass the torch back to back, right?
So
it's insane the win rates of both of them.
Here's what I would say to that, right? I think the top end is better now, but the depth is not. If you compare quarterback eras, right? The mid-range quarterback 10 years ago is better than the mid-range quarterback today.
No,
I disagree.
No, I disagree.
I think if you talk about mid-range quarterbacks,
mid-range outside the 6 to 10. The 6 to 10.
I think if you talk about mid-range quarterbacks in the 90s to the early 2000s, they probably don't make a roster today.
Yeah.
With 7-on-7, bigger, faster, stronger, all the technology, everything that goes into maintaining your body health, strength at the quarterback position, all these things matter.
The athleticism.
Right. All these things matter to where I bet if you looked at the average arm strength for the bottom 10 guys in the league now, it's probably top 5 in the 90s, early 2000s. I just think strength training and taking care of your body and all these things that are part of TB12, Tiger Woods, LeBron James, all these athletes that have prolonged their careers and competed at such a high level because they take care of their body. It matters now. Young athletes that are like coming into understanding they're above average, then they start to take care of their bodies better now. They're bigger, stronger, faster. It's
the
just
game,
facts.
the game has changed. Now they're looking for the fastest kid that they can find and make him into a thrower. And once you make him into a thrower and give them mechanics and give him what he needs to be that type of quarterback where he could throw 60 yards on a dime, that's what's being installed in these youth sports these days. I've been around it for almost 4 years now, seeing it and seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. These are what these guys are doing now. Now that it's look, I'm not gonna be PG friendly, Brian. You know we're real and we're true. Now that it's okay for a black kid to be a quarterback because back then it wasn't, which is absolutely idiotic and stupid and racist of the NFL. Now that it's okay to have that in your offense and install the RPO where it is now, that's why we see the Lamar Jacksons and the CJ Strouds and all these other cats, the Patrick Mahomes, all these other cats, because they can throw a dime and they can run. And that's what this game is today. And that's why I'm appreciative of this game today, because it's evolving and it's now becoming where you need a quarterback that can run and a quarterback that can extend the play and a quarterback that can throw. Randall Cunningham was way before his time. Steve McNair was way before his time. Michael Vick was way before his time. If those three players were playing today, they would be in the top 10 easily in this league.
I don't know if anybody, you guys may have seen it. This was me at the store yesterday. And I didn't say anything, but I laughed at it.
I saw it.
Any favorite bets? So are you betting the game? I have a couple different things in there. My wife picked heads for the coin toss. I have KC winning. I have KC on the alt line at 6.5 because I think they might win 27-20. I took 27-20 dead on. So if that wins, that pays for a Disney trip. That's where that is. I think I'm trying to think what the hell I even bet now. I like a lot in the game. Again, I just think that if you're going to take Kansas City, you're going to take the money line. There's no point in taking the extra one. Like, I just think it really matters. Where was? Are we all in Kansas City, by the way? Is that?
Yeah.
No, I think Brant's on San Fran.
Oh, Brant picked San Fran. That's right.
Why? No, and you want them to win? Why?
What? I don't want Taylor Swift to win.
Because he hates Patrick Mahomes.
No, Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce's annoying. Taylor Swift's annoying.
What's annoying about Travis Kelce? What's annoying?
Mr. Pfizer. It's just he's been all over the place lately. He's been all
Mr. Pfizer.
Mr. Pfizer? I don't get
Mr. Pfizer. No, I want to see.
You don't get it?
What?
Alex said you don't get it.
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So where are you on the
You
over?
want to get banned?
Where are you on the over under? 47.5.
We're all the over on the 27.5. I think
I'm on the under.
7.5. I'm picking under on 47.5.
So my $50 wager on Kansas City and I have different stuff, but I parlayed KC and the KC money line with the under. That's plus 271. If that's of anybody interest. I parlayed a bunch of nonsense together where I had McCaffrey getting in the end zone, Kelce getting in the end zone, Chiefs winning the game, Mahomes over 2.25 yards, Kelce 50+ yards, 5+ receptions, Pacheco 50+ yards, Mahomes at least 2 touchdowns. That's paying like 9-1.
I think I parlayed Kelce over 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, Mahomes over 20 yards rushing, 2 passing touchdowns, and Isaiah Pacheco, I think, over 50. I think I parlayed all 5 of those together. Yeah, I think I'm not a huge sports gambler. I don't like.
Oh man, I want to say something, Brian. It's been a fun year doing these Sunday morning shows. I know this is gonna be our last one. We really you, me, to Quig and Ant, and a little bit of sprinkle of Alex. And thanks, Brent, for showing up today.
Yes.
It's been a great year doing this. Thank you. We appreciate you so much for running the show. It's going to be interesting to see what next year's going to be, and hope we get a better lineup that rotates around that wants to do this next year. But it's always a blast to do this on Sunday mornings all week, every week with you. And just a shout out for Alex and I, man. We are going to have our last show. Alex, did we say Wednesday or Monday?
I think it's Monday, but I don't. Yeah, Monday.
Is it tomorrow?
Monday.
Right,
Monday.
Tomorrow night we have our last show for Game Winning Drive for the season, and then we're taking a very nice long break. I cannot wait.
April.
It's gonna be
NFL draft.
Till April. NFL draft. Can't wait to get on it. Just a shout out to our viewers, man. Be around for April, and we'll talk about it tomorrow night as well after everything transpires today. But the NFL draft is one of our biggest shows on the Sports Box.
Yes, it is.
It's probably my favorite show of the entire year. We get to have live reactions and see what happens on television and what teams are going to make moves. We were there last year when Houston made that crazy trade to get up Will Anderson, and I think we're going to see 2 of those this year in the top 10. And I'm excited, man. But yeah, make sure you check.
Can't
us
wait
out
to
in
see the
April.
Commanders trade away their future for Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I'm fucking excited for it, dude.
0%
I'm
chance it
fucking
happens.
pumped, baby.
0% chance.
Or they take Dre May and they stay in the toilet for the next 10 years. I'm excited for either one. Either one is super pumping for me. I'm super happy about it. Just because it makes Brant.
So you know what's going to happen, right? So if we get the deal where you just see the Bears just obliterate the Commanders in a trade, this is going to be Brant.
Fuck the Bears! Fuck Chicago! Fuck you!
That's going to be Brant.
Where is that from? Holy
Oh,
goodness.
Stu, I got more than that. What's this one?
Yeah.
It's Green Bay fucking Packers!
That's hurtful, Stu.
Fucking Packers!
Yeah, I got that too.
Hey, can we? For old time's sake, I know it's the last show. Can we see the Michael Etta video one time, please?
The long one, the draft video.
No, yeah,
like
the one where he's
The one where he was upset about
It's like
Vita
4
Vea.
minutes. I gotta hold on.
The
Oh,
Vita Vea pick.
It's 3 minutes long.
Yeah,
You care?
dude.
Do it.
The Bucs are staying here taking a defensive back. I'm telling you, they're not moving down. I'm telling you. It probably be smart for them to move down, but I just hope they get Fitzpatrick and not Derwin James. The only thing that could happen is that they move down and think they can get Fitzpatrick. Is that they can move down and get Fitzpatrick.
Bucks traded to the Bills.
Traded the pick.
Yeah.
But I want Fitzpatrick. I don't want James. I want Fitzpatrick. Jesus.
Edmonds.
Damn it!
And you have a live reaction from the Bucks fan.
Manny, 1 pick away. Are you kidding me? Damn it. How mad you were mad.
You kind of knew that was coming though.
Shit.
When they didn't get Rosen, they had to switch. They had to switch up their
They're
thing.
gonna get Derwin James. Damn it.
Dude, listen.
They're
There's
taking
somebody
the
with a
tackle.
parrot hat on. Is this is your fan base? I'm just letting you know. There's somebody with a goddamn parrot hat on.
So they traded back to 12 to take a lineman.
Oh, God, don't say that, please.
You might be good just for like reaction purposes. This is Derwin James. Whoa!
Look at him!
Wow!
Oh my god!
Oh, my God.
Wait, we already broke 6 chairs, so that might be another one.
God. Are you kidding me? Oh, my God.
Yo, I'm fire! Yo, Matt says fire the cannons. That's what Paul says.
Oh, my God.
Fire the cannons.
Oh, my God. I can't. Oh
He's
my
happy.
God.
At least Mike. At least he's happy. He's playing for him.
Oh my God!
He's kind of off camera right now.
Look,
He's really not happy. Call it what it is. He's still the best D tackle in the draft. I mean, you can say. Yeah. Are you all right?
Good?
You okay? He's so mad.
Why are you mad?
They got the worst secondary in the league. They got 2 guys there sitting there. We're gonna give his Patrick. You gotta get Derwin James. Yeah. I'm gonna start changing.
Let's see.
I'm gonna have to change allegiance soon. I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah, and then his team got Tom Brady and won the Super Bowl. It's like, okay.
Listen, the best part about that video is he's wearing a fucking Jameis Winston jersey. That's the best part of the whole fucking video. Like, he's bitching about Vita Vea and Jameis Winston's your fucking quarterback. Like, what are you?
How can you be mad if you got Derwin James? Like, I don't understand. Like, we're gonna resort to Derwin James was an effing beast in FSU, and Vita Vea was an absolute animal in that draft at defensive tackle. I cannot believe he was that. I can't get over it to this day. I'll never get over it.
But listen,
I
mean, Minka's probably the best pick, right? Over Derwin. I think they're close.
From a durability standpoint.
Yeah, I think Minka's better because he's healthy majority of the time, right? So
skill-wise, I'm taking Derwin.
So thank you to all who have been watching Sunday pregame with us throughout the year. Again, tonight is the final game. We hope all your bets hit as long as they're the same bets as mine. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see what next year holds. But we'll be back for football around draft time. Well, we always get ready for the draft. We do the draft show. It's one of our most fun shows of the year, just reacting live. I have the video somewhere. I don't think I have it easily of when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts. I actually do.
Oh, with Verardi?
Yeah. Hold on.
And Hess? Save it for the draft day.
All right, I'll save it for the draft. But literally, like, we had like the shock that the Eagles were taking a quarterback.
I mean I guess my shock last year, Brian, was pretty livid when I got Quentin Johnson. So
you were less than
I was pissed.
That pick worked out really well.
Yeah, I told you.
God.
I predicted he was going to be the worst wide receiver in the draft, and I wasn't far off. I wasn't far off. Man.
He passed up on Laporta.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God! Could you imagine that offense?
Bowers this year.
Laporta?
They're going to get Bowers this year.
But now they're going after Bowers when they could have had Laporta last year and addressing another need this year.
Hey, who knows? Pitts is supposedly on the block from
that.
Atlanta,
That little cutie right there is going to win the block pool tonight.
Yeah.
Which she got 0-0 in the one block pool.
0-0, baby.
Right into the college fund.
In the first quarter or what?
So that's a. I run 4 different pools. 2 are standard. 1 actually pays out by the minute of the game. So whatever the minute mark is, you get a payout every single time. So like if you hold the score for 10 minutes, you feel good. You know.
Yeah.
That one has a weird payout that I picked up. Like reverse numbers can pay. A whole bunch of nonsense can pay. It'll be interesting. So.
There we go,
but
Chiefs.
Anyway,
that's all I care about.
Yeah.
And whatever makes Brant more miserable, let's do that. Whatever.
Let's go Niners.
I miss
he's
you,
already
buddy.
He's already a Mormon. He already is miserable about that.
I miss you, buddy.
I know. I miss you guys too.
Listen. Enjoy the day. Hopefully, you can take off from work tomorrow. I can't. The game should be on Saturday. I actually would get behind that.
Listen, I think this is the only time football should be on Saturdays. Super Bowl Saturday. Let's start that trend because I'm going to be miserable tomorrow when I go to.
I'm already out tomorrow, so I don't care.
Oh, I'm already out tomorrow. I don't care.
All right, guys. Let's enjoy Super Bowl. Let's have all my bets win, and you should take them as well. And keep up with the Sports Box. We just broke 25,000 followers not that long ago, so it's been a road. We're getting there, slowly but surely. All right, guys. Take care.
Peace.